Welcome back to Literature Guide. Today's video is about John Milton's famous pastoral elegy Lycidas, which was written in 1637 and published in 1638. John Milton's Lycidas has been considered as one of the finest elegies written in English language. The poem presents John Milton's lamentation over the death of his intimate friend Edward King, who died on his voyage to Ireland. The poem Lycidas presents John Milton's views on the sorry state of the church of the time. This elegy clearly expresses John Milton's fear, doubt, and his anger against his opponents. The poet laments over the death of his intimate friend Edward King, who was studying with John Milton at Christ College, Cambridge. Milton recalls his happy days spent with his friend Edward King. The elegy was criticized by Dr. Samuel Johnson. He called it as easy, vulgar, and therefore disgusting. But it does not mean that the elegy lacks its charm. John Milton imagines himself as a shepherd and recalls his happy days spent in the company of his friend Edward King. I have produced many videos on the English poetry. For example, Anglo-Norman poetry, Anglo-Saxon poetry, sonnet and sonnet sequences, ballad, elegy, and I have recently produced two videos on John Keats' two major poems, La Belle Dame Sans Merci and Ode to a Nightingale. You can watch all these videos by visiting my channel. One thing which really surprises me is that 70% of my non-subscribers, they visit the channel, they watch my videos, but they do not subscribe. I am very thankful to my subscribers and non-subscribers who have given staunch support to this channel. If you really like the videos produced by this channel, do like and subscribe Literature Guide. So I don't want to waste your time. Let's dive into the video and enjoy the video.
Lycidas by John Milton. John Milton has generally been deemed as one of the greatest English poets, second only to Shakespeare. He is also known as the greatest scholar-poet of England. John Milton's pastoral elegy Lycidas was written in 1637 as a tribute to his intimate friend, Edward King. The poem was published in 1638. John Milton's poem Lycidas is known as a pastoral elegy in which the poet speaks as if he were a shepherd lamenting over the loss of a fellow shepherd. John Milton laments over the death of his friend, Edward King, who was studying at Christ College, Cambridge with Milton. Edward King died on his voyage to Ireland while crossing from Chester Bay to Dublin. Milton weaves into the fabric not only pastoral scene but mythology, Christian belief and contemporary controversy in the Church in England. The poem begins with an apology for breaking his resolve not to write any poem until his genius was quite mature for that purpose. Milton invokes the aid of Muses to compose this poem. He recalls the happy days he had spent at the University of Cambridge with his dear friend Edward King. Both of them were interested in the same subject of poetry. Many times, the undergraduate would crowd around them and dance while they were composing and singing song. Milton found it impossible to bear the loss of his friend who had been drowned in the River Dee when he was on the voyage to Ireland. He wondered what the nymphs had been doing when Lycidas was drowned. But he soon realized that the nymphs would not have been in a position to help because the nymphs could not save their son Orpheus. Milton then thinks of his ideal poetry and wonder whether he is doing right things while aiming at the lofty ideals. At the same time, he feels that it would have perhaps been far better to write cheap love poetry and acquire popularity and material gains like other ordinary poet. At that time, Apollo suddenly appears and consoles John Milton, saying that he would have true friend in heaven. The real reward is given by God, who is the perfect judge of our deeds. John Milton then returns to normal strain and conducts an inquiry about the cause of Lycidas' death. The waves and the winds were quite calm and quiet. The conclusions were arrived that the tragedy was the result of the ship being built during the eclipse and therefore, ill-omened. John Milton describes various mourners like Comus and St. Peter. St. Peter feels bitter because in Lycidas, he has lost his only hope of the church. The church was corrupt in all respects and Lycidas could have saved it from utter ruin. John Milton has expressed his views on the state of the church under Archbishop Laud, who encouraged the king's belief that he ruled by divine right. Milton makes use of this opportunity to criticize the corrupt clergymen of the time. He predicts that very soon these corrupt clergymen would meet with proper punishment. After this evident outburst, Milton comes back once again to the peaceful pastoral strain. The poem Lycidas presents the underlying idea that true fame rests on God. It also deals with the subject of the poet's own mortality and ambition. He invokes the valleys to cast their flowers of different colors and fragrance on the dead body of Lycidas. Of course, Lycidas' body was not there. The poem concludes on a more joyous note, blending calm, beautiful resignation and hopefulness. Milton realizes that there is no occasion for grief. Lycidas like the setting sun and had died only to rise in greater glory. He pictures him in heaven being welcomed by the angels. The tears are wiped forever from his eyes and melodious songs being heard by him. Milton appoints him also at the shore, whose duty would be to guard all those who sail there. In this poem, Milton touches various mood and feelings. There are various digressions, he seems to be conscious of this. It has been very often pointed out that Lycidas is not a great elegy because it does not reveal any intense personal sorrow on the part of the poet. This criticism is based on a misapprehension. Intense sorrow is never an aim of an elegy, what we expect in an elegy. In this respect, Lycidas can be considered as a free elegy. Dr. Samuel Johnson has observed that pastoral and other condensations are not conducive to an expression of genuine passion, and that where there is leisure for fiction, there can be little grief. He criticized Milton's Lycidas as easy, vulgar and therefore disgusting. Milton's Lycidas, though full of digression, has to be classed as one of the greatest elegies in English language. John Milton's poem Lycidas is laden with music and color of the Spenserian verse with irregular stanza and rhyme pattern. It reflects passionate sincerity. The poem presents a fine interplay of doubt, fear, anger, and finally the poet's detestation for the miscellaneous rabble. Milton's Lycidas also reflects his puritanical outlook, which can be seen in his anger for his opponents. John Milton's Lycidas has been considered as one of the finest pastoral elegies in English language.
How is the video? I hope you liked the video. As I have told you earlier that I have produced many videos on the English poetry. You can watch all these videos if you visit the channel. I am very thankful once again I am very thankful to my subscribers and non-subscribers. I will meet you soon with a new topic on English literature, but before I leave, I would like to request you to comment in the comment box and express your views without having any hesitation. I will meet you soon with a new topic on English literature. Meet you.
Please subscribe Literature Guide.